Welcome to another episode of Modern Latina in Midlife. I am Sonia Flores, your host. Today, I have a dear friend that I met a few years back at a retreat, and she does some beautiful work meshing therapy with dance. I've been following her for years, but I had the pleasure of meeting her at a women's retreat. I believe that was in 2019 out in um, over in the Joshua Tree area. Anyways, part of the retreat included a session with her. She taught us a Latin burlesque choreography, and it was really incredible fun. So let me share a little bit about her with you. Jenny Viveros is a dancer and licensed clinical social worker. She has been able to use both backgrounds to create a heart-centered dance experience. Latin Burlesque was born as a dance therapy in order to heal the feminine. Jenny taps into the femininity that we all carry and has used dance as a form of women empowerment and healing through self-expression. In her workshops, you learn how to reconnect with your own sexual essence. Her private practice includes incorporating ancestral healing as tools to heal mind, body, and spirit. She has been able to incorporate her ancestral lineage, traditional medicine, and Western teachings in the form of therapy limpias, which incorporates psychotherapy and energy cleansing in a nature setting. She is a spiritual womb and Yoni practitioner where she focuses on women's reproductive and health history and healing from sexual trauma. Her passion in life is to help people achieve their truest self. Let's welcome Jenny Viveros to the podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Jenny. I'm so excited that you have accepted my invitation to be here, and I'm sure that the audience is going to get so much fun out of this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here.
Yes, of course. So, I mean, I know a little bit about your background and what you do, but for the audience, if you don't mind, please introducing yourself and sharing a little bit about your journey of how you got to where you are today and what you do today.
So my name is Jenny Viveros. I'm from Venice, California. I feel like I'm going into like where do I come from?
When I was
Uh,
born.
so I come from the west side, and I visit Chiquita. When I've always been a dancer. So I've been dancing folklorico since I was 8. I've
Mhm,
always been in front of, you know, when it first started, it was in front of my family. So I would do like
mhm,
talent shows and I would be like, I'm Thalia, I'm Selena.
mm,
I
that's
mean,
cute.
I have the red lipstick. I would
Yeah.
go into my mom's um closet and I would get, some of her lingerie that she would have or like,
Mhm,
and I was like, ooh, this is something that I like. And so I was always a performer.
mhm,
Um, I would always like, I would charge people, well, my
mm.
family, 25 cents to come and see
That's
me
so cute.
sing. But then also, I was always someone that really cared about the world or creating an impact in the world. And
Mhm,
so I went to school to become, I majored in Chicano studies. So I was like hardcore, like working as an activist and,
mhm,
trying to change different, I mean, how the school system is and,
mhm,
a lot of the importance of like the work that we do with people that serve, like the farm
mhm,
workers and all
mhm,
that. So
mhm,
I that's where I kind of like combined the work of being able to be of service and also be someone that enjoyed dancing,
mhm,
and I became a social worker. So then,
mhm,
like, I know this is like a journey.
mhm,
Like, I decided to go into grad school to become a social worker. One,
mhm,
because I saw that a lot of the times in our families there's a lot of trauma.
mhm,
There's a lot of what do I say? Like, I feel like I come from a family that needed to do a lot of work or a lot of inner work. And so I decided to go into social work and become a social worker and a therapist.
mhm,
And I really enjoyed that work. I really enjoyed doing what, being of service, trying to understand who we are individually, right? I felt like I went in wanting to change the world and the community, but it starts with ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
so I I started that journey. I got my master's, and then, but through that whole time, I was dancing. I've been dancing folklorico and dancing, and so I even did my actually did my capstone or our thesis in the benefits of dance and folklorico um, in social work, and how that was something that was I use that in a non well, yeah, I use it in the nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that's kind of how like dance
Mm-hmm.
and social work and
Mm-hmm.
um
Mm-hmm.
all
All those
kind of
became intertwined.
yeah.
Okay, so how did so now I know you because I've met you through the Latin burlesque, in that scene or respect, if you will, right? Particularly at a retreat that we both attended, and so that's kind of my introduction to you. How did Latin burlesque then become a part of you? How did you become involved in that?
So it all started with folklorico.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I danced for a company called Grandeza Mexicana, and that was kind of a dream for me. And a lot of the times, the women that I saw performing, I saw and I felt as if they were having an orgasm on stage, like
Mhm.
just the pleasure that
Mhm.
they exuded through performance. And
Mhm.
folclórico is very, like you don't associate like
Mhm.
sensualidad or sexualidad,
Mhm.
but whenever I would see and admire someone performing on stage, I feel like they were feeling
In their
pleasure. And
essence.
yes, their essence was like sensualidad. And actually, what we were taught, like we had to connect to that sensual energy that we carry to be able to do the different movements and the different kind of like now we're actors, but we're embodying
Yeah.
like the love and the art of dance and our cultura. And so we performed with Lila Downs.
Oh, it's
And
amazing.
yeah,
So
that
awesome.
that to me was like I was like that was my dream come true. And we had to perform Cuando me besas tú. So I
Mhm.
don't know if we did the warm up at the retreat where I warmed you all up. I think to Cuando me tocas tú by Lila Downs.
I can't remember now.
But a lot of the times I've used that warm up, I've used that
Mhm.
song, and that song is like we performed it folklorico style, but
Mhm.
it was very sensual. We had
Oh,
to,
wow.
we had to embody that in the way we walked, the way we moved. And at during that time when I was performing, I was also that's where you go. I was dealing with kind of challenging relationship in my life
Mhm.
that was not, I felt like a lot of the times I had to dim my light and I
Mm.
wasn't who I truly was
Mm.
because of that.
Mhm.
And so I think I was going through that understanding and that disconnecting myself from that
Mm.
at the same time as I'm performing and connecting to my feminine
Mm.
essence.
Mm.
um I feel like I had an internal struggle. Like I was
Mhm.
like battling, like a part of me was like, okay, you want to do this is who you are. And another
Like they
part
were
of me,
contradicting themselves? Oh,
yep.
okay, okay, got it. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yes. And so I feel like I was when I first walked into a burlesque class, so that's where that goes in
Mhm.
to embody this feminine energy,
Mhm.
this sexual and sensual energy to be able to then perform it on stage.
Mhm.
I took a burlesque class and I remember walking in and doing my first hair flip and using the chair and moving and I was like, de aquí soy
Yeah.
yo.
I am home. I have arrived. I
That
love
is
it.
yes. So that's like I remember feeling like I was home. Like
Mhm.
I this is me, but I had two parts. I had one
Mhm.
part that was like, no, like, no puedes hacer esto porque qué dice tu
Mhm.
familia o like la niña
Mhm.
buena.
Mhm.
And then this is like, no, this is who I truly am.
Mm.
And so I started taking classes and then I started performing.
Mhm.
And I really, really enjoyed it. I really felt like comfortable in my own skin,
Mhm.
um, loving myself in a different way, and being able to use what I learned at burlesque
Mhm.
to apply it into a folklorico setting and performance,
Mm.
um, with Cuando Me
Mhm.
Tocas too.
Mhm.
And also ending that relationship because it was
Mhm.
not serving me.
Mhm. Wow.
And I feel like during that transition, of that, the ending and closing of cycles, like Latin Burlesque was born
Yeah.
through pain, through
Yeah.
sadness, through grief,
Yeah.
through reclaiming
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Do you think that the process of your growth and embodying your essence and your true authenticity through Latin burlesque helped you be able to let go of that relationship, like let go of that, like do you feel that was a process that's what helped you kind of maybe heal from that? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 I and like I feel like I go back, and to me it was, I was told, why, if you're revealing for a reason. You're trying to
Mhm.
show your body to someone, or
Mhm.
I'm like, ¿por qué no te tapas?
Mhm.
Like I felt like I couldn't be myself, like I didn't feel safe in my body.
Mhm. Mhm.
And because of Latin burlesque, and because of being able to reclaim my body and to admire and love and feel safe, um that that helped me heal. And
Mhm.
I feel like dance has been therapy
Mhm.
for me. As a
Mhm.
therapist that does therapy,
Mhm.
like to me dance is very therapeutic.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. So how did you then, what motivated you then to move further into Latin burlesque? Because now I've been a student of yours shortly for a very, very short period of time, but I've had the pleasure of taking a class from you, and that was so beautiful and just so empowering. But can you share with us what was that next step like for you to start incorporating this?
Yeah, so I continued doing performances, but I felt like I don't want to perform for others. Like I think I went through that stage of like, okay, I could perform, and I mean, I've been doing it since I was a little girl.
Mhm,
I've
mhm,
been performing, I've been on stage, but this time I feel like that's where I combined the work that I do as a therapist and as a social worker, where I was like, I want to be able to create safe spaces for women or for people, because it's not just for women, it's
mhm,
for anybody to
mhm,
come and feel safe in their body, to feel sensual and sexual. So I feel like that's where it started, like being able to feel, and experience our truest essence,
mhm,
because a lot of the times in class, I share like, you may not dance like the person right next to you.
mhm,
Each one brings your own sazon, your own unique energia into
mhm,
this space. And so that's where I feel like using choreography, using specific music, as a healing tool for to heal
mhm,
ourselves and
mhm,
heal each other in community.
mhm, mhm. So what was then that transition? So are you still a therapist or are you just doing Latin burlesque? What does that look like now?
It's so actually I retired from the nonprofit. So I was managing different programs at a mental health agency. So I've
Mhm,
been, I've created programs. I've worked with families and individuals. I have my private practice. So I am an LCSW. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. So I do have her in my private practice, but I did retire from the nonprofit
mm,
to
mhm,
kind of continue to, I feel like that journey that I felt I wanted to kind of climb up the ladder wanting to be like an associate director,
Mhm.
CEO of like a nonprofit or a company, I was like, I don't want that.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
wanted to continue to dance and continue to create experiences. So I feel
Mhm.
like the energy where I'm at now. So yeah, it's been a year. I had to go through a healing journey to be able to heal my body
Mhm.
and heal burnout, because I know a lot of the times we talk about people burning out in
Mhm.
different like community mental health agencies. I feel like a
Mm.
lot of the times, as therapists and people that are our service, we burn out. We give, we
Mhm.
give, we give,
Mhm.
and we forget to give to ourselves. And
Mhm.
so I think I had to go through that transition
Mhm.
of pouring into my cup before I
Mhm.
could continue to pour into others' cups.
Mhm. Oh yeah, yeah. So now you dedicate yourself. Can you share about your practice? What do you do in your practice, and you incorporate Latin burlesque with that?
Yeah, so I do I in my private practice I work individual adults. I work on trauma and depression, anxiety. I work with families as well. So I do a lot of
Mhm.
family therapy work. Uh, but with Latin burlesque, I feel like I do one-on-one sessions. So I
Mhm.
kind of do like I don't like to call myself a coach,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
I guide
Mhm.
um people that are going through divorces, through breakups. I do one-on-one with being
Mhm.
able to kind of do a little bit of like talk therapy, and then we do movement therapy. So I feel like
Ooh.
it's a blending, like I
Mhm.
blend. Um I've done experiences in my home where like we do one-on-ones, and I'm like I set like a whole beautiful spread of like teas and fruits
Mhm.
to kind of like feel safe within a space. um have a conversation, guide them through what their intention is and what they want to release,
Mhm.
and then moving them on to movement therapy, which is,
Mhm.
Lana Burlesque, and
Mhm.
being able to feel safe. So I feel like I do a blend. There's a lot of
Mhm.
blending that's happening.
Mm. I love that. That sounds so beautiful. Okay, so let me take it a step back a little bit. For those who are unfamiliar, can you briefly explain what Latin burlesque is?
Okay, so my interpretation of what I have created, I use a lot of Spanish music. So I know in the burlesque scene, a lot of the times you're hearing, like, if you think of burlesque, you think of like the Christina Aguilera movie Burlesque, right?
Right, right.
Um, so
Mhm.
for me, I feel like I've incorporated like the chair as a tool, um, of I bring different movements and different um tailored to how to feel safe within our bodies. So like I incorporate a lot of like different movements, the hair flips
Mhm.
and the feeling like moving of our shoulders and our
Mhm.
bodies. And we warm up. We begin with a warm up. Um, Different music. So I listen to the lyrics. So a lot of the times the reggaeton is what calls to me. So a
Mhm.
lot of the times like Karol G, I use a lot
Mhm.
of Karol G, Cardi B,
Mhm.
um, J
Yay.
Balvin.
Love it.
So
Love
it's a
it.
lot of like reggaeton that
Mhm.
comes to me. So I start creating a choreography. And so if I'm walking someone into it, like, what is it that you're going to experience? I always tell the people that are coming, like, I want you to feel sexy yet comfortable. So
Mhm.
like it starts with the outfit that you choose to wear into one of the classes. A lot of the times
Mhm.
I do a Llorona event where you
Mhm.
come Llorona inspired. I do Galentine's Day event. So
Mhm.
you come with your gals and you come,
Mhm.
dressed to kind of
Mhm.
love on each other, love yourself.
Mhm.
I do
Mhm.
Naughty or Nice, which
Mhm.
you come dressed in December. You could dress naughty or nice.
Oh, I
Um,
like
so it's
it.
very different themes. I have a lot of
Mhm.
different themes. Uh, and so it's kind of your how are you adorning your body with what you're wearing, with what you're
Mhm.
feeling, with the lipstick that you may be wearing, or the
Mhm.
the hair. Um, so
Mhm.
and it starts with adoring your body and
Mhm.
loving all of you,
Mhm.
even before you start to
Mhm.
take the class. And
Mhm.
then from there, I guide you all into different movements. and choreography. And then, we do before and after pictures of like how
Mhm.
it is when you first started taking
Mhm.
the class and how you end the class. And I
Mhm.
feel like it's like a comunidad. Like it's
Mhm.
a community that is built. We network, we get to know who is in the room because a lot of the
Mhm.
times, how are we going to support each other
Mhm.
in this journey? So yeah, so I feel like, did I answer
Mhm.
that?
Yeah, yes, yes. I just wanted to get people. Yeah, yes, you did. I believe so. So are you able to share how this practice helps women explore and embrace their femininity and heal, or what is the transformation for somebody doing this with you look like?
So the transformation, how I personally see it, a lot of the women that come or that are wanting to connect with themselves, I feel
Mhm.
like society has told us that loving ourselves is not um it's not something positive. It's not. We're told like you need to change your body, you need to lose weight, you need to do this, you need to do that. So I feel like, to me, coming into this class or taking this class is an act of rebellion against
Mhm.
that. Like
Mhm.
we're loving ourselves in every stage of our journey within
Mhm.
our bodies,
Mhm.
because our bodies change. Our bodies
Mhm.
will continue to change. And so, how do we love ourselves through all the changes?
Mhm.
Um, so, I welcome everybody to come just as they are. And a lot of the times, I am asking a lot of people to be like, you're opening and you're super vulnerable
Mhm.
coming in, because I'm asking them like, wear lingerie, wear
Mhm.
fishnets,
Mhm.
wear whatever makes you feel sexy. And a lot of the
Mhm.
times, we may not be connected to that sexiness or
Mhm.
that sensualidad, because I wasn't. I think that's
Mhm.
where that started, that I
Mhm.
needed to connect with that to be able to heal. And
Mhm.
so I feel like it's a journey. It's not just it could be multiple classes that
Mhm.
can happen. So it's like a journey of being able to discover a different part of you
Mhm.
through these classes.
Mhm.
So it is very healing. I've had so many people reach out and tell me like, thank you so much for the the changes that I've seen within myself, within, being sexual,
Mhm.
being connected to my partner, because a lot of times
Mhm.
it could also be in connection to the partner that
Mhm.
we've disconnected from that because we've
Mhm.
had to be leaders, we've had to
Mhm.
care for others, we have to be mothers or
Mhm.
parents. And
Mhm.
so I have a lot of women that come that have children and they're like, I've disconnected from that
Mhm.
feminine essence because I've had
Mhm.
to be a mother. And
Mhm.
so being in a class here, like, I don't have to think about that. I'm just
Mhm.
being myself.
Mhm. I love that. That's so cool. So my audience is women in midlife. So it's about 40 to 60, but really could start about 35. What age group do you see most is attracted to your work? I'm curious to hear what you're going to say. And then how can women in this stage of midlife start embracing that femininity and sensuality? And this is probably two separate questions, but
Yeah, so I'm 38, going to be 39. And
Mhm.
I think the other day I said I'm 40, and I'm like, wait, I'm not 40 yet, but like I'm already embodying and embracing
Yes.
that. I'm getting excited.
Yes.
Um, I think in our 20s, so the women that come are between 30 and 70.
Oh,
So I've
wow.
had all age ranges
Yeah.
that have come, even in their 20s. But I
Mhm.
feel like a lot of the times in our 20s, we still don't know who we are,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
we're still trying to navigate that.
Mhm.
And there is so much insecurity there too.
Mhm. Mhm.
But we're also like living it up, right? We're partying it up
Yeah.
and we're going to school, trying to understand who we are, navigating that. And then in our 30s, I feel like we're a little bit, we've graduated, we're a little bit more established, right? We have children. Um, and then we're like also reconnecting with ourselves, because I feel
Mhm.
like around your 30s is when you get another wave of like
Mhm.
sexualidad,
Mm.
that drive.
Mhm.
And I've heard in the 40s as well.
Mhm.
And so, but then we have so much more that we're carrying as well.
Mhm.
So I do have ages from 30 to 60. I've had
Mhm.
70. I had a nurse that came and she was in her 70s and she would
Wow.
take classes and she loved it. I've
So
had my mom
fun.
who's 59 who's taken class
Wow.
with that. I feel like a
That's
lot of the
awesome.
times, like, yeah, my mom has had a hard time being able in the beginning. She's like, "Oh, te vas a encuerar, ¿qué es lo que vas a hacer?" And I'm
Mhm.
like, "Mom, this is very different. Like, we're here to
Mhm.
like love all of
Mhm.
us." And so she's taking class too. So I've had tias that have come.
Mhm.
My tia who's 60 has come and she's like, "I've always wanted to do this. I've always seen your class and I want to take it."
Oh my God. What was that process like for your mom to like be able to finally, or maybe she hasn't, I don't know, accept this work that you do and now taking classes from you? Like, what was that process like for her? Because, as I'm assuming, as I was raised at, Hispanic household, you don't do this kind of stuff. You got to cover up, no enseñes nada, you know, that typical. Did you grow up that way as well?
Oh, that's exactly how I grew up. No
Mhm.
enseñes mucho y yo tengo de más. So enseñaba de más, even if I
Girl,
would hide it.
I'm with you, girl. I hear you.
Very voluptuous, so everything was just overflowing. And so siempre sí, tápate, no enseñes eso, ¿qué es lo que va a decir la gente? And I'm like, I don't care what people say. So I feel
Mhm.
like I grew up, like, it was a struggle. It was
Mhm.
not a struggle just with, like, the relationship, but also the struggle growing up with my parents and having to voice and be like, no, like I feel like what I'm doing feels right.
Mhm.
And I know that religion and in society, patriarchy. So like
Mhm.
there's so many different layers,
Mhm.
right, that have
Mhm.
formed the way we nos cohibimos, nos tenemos que tapar, tenemos que ser. And so for my mom, her journey started that way. Like she saw it as a negative, very
Mhm.
negative. She didn't want to be partake in it. And so the first time I invited her, I'm like, Mom, can you please come? I need your support. So she came and I remember she wore jeans. And a lot of the times, like I always tell women, come in layers because you may want to undress as you go, or you
Mhm.
could continue to be covered up however you want. So she wore jeans and she's like, I wish I would have worn something different. But when I started doing like, the bicycle when
Mhm. Yep.
we're like
I remember
using
the
our legs.
bicycle. Yes.
So she started playing como una niña chiquita. Like she was like just moving her legs. And,
Oh.
in the beginning, it was hard for her because, she's not used to moving in that way. And
Mhm.
so she had such an amazing time. She was like, oh my God, it was so much fun. I took before and after pictures of her
Oh.
and she looked so different.
Yeah.
She was just loving herself. And so as the years have gone, she's been supporting me and she wears less and less and she does
Mm.
more. Like the last time that I did a Mamacitas event for moms
Mhm. Mhm.
and she came and she was so excited about the venue and
Mhm.
we put her on and we had a crown on her and we did like a whole little video and photo shoot of her and like to see her when she first came in very like rígida,
Mhm.
um to then seeing her now being
Mhm.
completely open. And she always says in the classes, because I have her speak, she's
Mhm.
like, if you can't beat them, join them.
Mhm. Ándale. There you go. That's
And so
so
she's
fun.
joined us.
Oh, that's so fun. I love that. So for women who want to experience this, how do you suggest they get started, whether it's with you or someone else? Is it like taking baby steps or what does that look like?
I think I think classes definitely make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
I would say we could start with ourselves, looking ourselves in the mirror and just being able to be like, what do I admire about myself?
Mm-hmm.
What do I love about myself? So it could start
Mm-hmm.
as you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, you know what? I love your eyes. I love, your lips, or, your skin feels so soft. So being able to give love to different parts of our cuerpo, that's like the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then also like a lot of the times, like we don't have to wear adornments to be like, oh, I feel so beautiful.
Mhm.
But I think that that
It
enhances that.
helps.
It does. It
It
does.
does help, yeah.
It definitely does help. So I wear, I love my earrings. I love like luxurious fabrics, that
Mhm.
feels very soft in my skin. So that also the way what we wear our adornment. Um, but then I feel also being able to create a community. That's why I feel like we're social beings. We can't
Mhm.
just, I think COVID, like really, we had to be very like to ourselves.
Mhm.
And that affected many of us, right? And
Mhm.
so we found
Mhm.
community online, which is
Mhm.
why we would do Zoom classes and all that.
Mhm.
So I feel like we're social beings. So being able to be in a place where you feel connected to others. So it could
Mhm.
be my class, it could be,
Mhm.
pole class. I take pole dancing classes. I love pole
Mm.
dancing.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I've taken pole dancing classes too.
Mhm. So, I mean, so this practice, these types of practices, whether it's like pole dancing or Latin burlesque, they they help us in some way become more accepting of our body, you feel? Yeah,
Yeah.
how so? Like what do you think it happens, to us in our brain that like makes that switch?
I feel like it begins when we start sharing our stories
Mm,
and we realize we're not alone
mm,
and that we all carry the same kind
mm,
of thoughts about our bodies, what we've
mm,
been conditioned to, what we've been told. And then when we see each other in this element of like, you know what, I'm gonna own it, like that
mhm,
collective energy,
mhm.
we
Yes.
feed off of it.
Yeah. I can 100% attest to that in that class, in that on that retreat that we took where we did that Berlin the choreography. I definitely showed up very like, oh my gosh, I don't know about this. I packed my stuff. I packed my lingerie and all that, but it was really empowering to be in that energy with other women and that music that just touched you to the core, and just watching other women embracing themselves and start to come out of their shells. And then there become a moment where it wasn't even about the other people in the room anymore. It was a safe space. First of all, let me just begin by saying that it was a very safe and private place. So it was just really empowering to just be able to move the body. It was amazing. It's so weird how that the power that that had, and just really owning that and embracing that and just feeling like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to do this again. That was fun, and I love to experience that again. I definitely need to do that. Um, so in your bio, you share that you are a spiritual womb and yoni practitioner focusing on women's reproductive health and history and healing from sexual trauma. Can you talk a little bit more about that? What does that mean and what does that look like?
So yeah, so I trained with Marcia Lopez.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Yes, of course, Marcia.
from
Yes.
from Women's True Healing. And
Yes.
so I learned, and I started with myself doing vaginal steams within myself to
Mm-hmm.
be able to heal myself. So I feel like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the the journey begins with what I do with myself and then opening it up to sharing with others, right? But I feel like vaginal steaming and doing in ceremony, I feel like it's a ceremony being able to connect with our wombs, to heal our wombs, to listen to our wombs and what it's
Mm-hmm.
speaking. We carry so much. We carry life force.
Mm-hmm.
We're birth givers and birth givers of dreams.
Mm-hmm.
We're dreamers. So not just giving birth, but
Mm-hmm.
giving birth to dreams and creativity. And
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of the time we have been and generational, like there's if we're talking about intergenerational trauma and
Mm-hmm.
historical trauma, we carry that within ourselves. And so being able to release that through kind of the ceremony of steaming our yoni, our vulva,
Mm-hmm.
and being guided through that, that's something that I was very called to do within
Mm-hmm.
myself and then to be able to offer that to others.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something, and I feel like it connects with kind of like the journey that I've continued to do and where it may take me, because I had to have surgery to remove fibroids from my uterus, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the healing that I had to do with sobadas, focusing on my
Mhm.
matriz, releasing trauma through
Mhm.
multiple ways of healing, vaginal steaming as well.
Mhm.
So I feel like um, yeah, like it's
Mhm.
been a journey, and so that's something that it's very personal, but
Mhm.
also something that I feel can benefit many of us.
Mhm. So what does that look like? So for somebody to do, like I've done the vaginal steaming, I've done it in retreats and in ceremony, if you will, but I've
Yeah,
also done it at home for myself. And I've also have yoni eggs. In fact, I ordered one from you.
yeah,
So can you share what those processes are like and what that helps with each one of
yeah.
those?
So processes for doing it with yourself, or
Sure. Yeah, I guess
so
let's start with yourself.
well for the herbs that you use. So there's different herbs that have different supports that are going to be
Mhm.
helping you in healing what you want to heal. So a lot of the times it can support with, PCOS, endometriosis. Like the steam and the herbs combined together help with supporting your uterus, with warming your uterus. A lot of the times our uterus is very cold.
Mhm.
And um this is something that I learned from my acupuncture is that we need to make sure that we're warming ourselves. And a lot of the times when we don't even have socks, our uterus is
Mhm.
cold. And so being able to
Mm.
wear socks. So a lot of the times when we're doing these, and I call them ceremonies, right? Within ourselves, we do it at home.
Mhm.
We get, our hierbitas, we, bless them, we do prayer with them, and then we cover ourselves, with a blanket, with something that's going to keep us warm to keep that vapor,
Mhm.
and the medicine that's going
Mhm.
to help us heal. So that's part of it. So the different herbs helps us and aids us with connecting with what we need support with.
Mhm.
And then the yoni egg is also with helping with strengthening our pelvic floor. A lot of the times we
Mhm.
could do exercises, or a lot of times to feel even more pleasure, more
Mhm.
sexual pleasure.
Mhm.
So there's different um, techniques and with the herbs. So I mean, we could go into it at a later date
Mhm.
of like breaking
Yeah.
down all the
Yeah.
herbs, but you could use lavender, you could use
Mhm.
roses, you could
Mhm.
use chamomile, yarrow, so different herbs, and being able to connect and learn what these herbs are is the beginning stage
Mhm.
to being able to kind of form that relationship.
Mhm.
And I was told that the medicine is around you.
Mhm.
Um, and so sometimes even going around your neighborhood and looking at the herbs that there are, you could use them into your steam.
Oh, wow. So even if they're not like organic or I
Well,
mean, I
if
don't
you're
know.
growing them, if you're
Right.
growing them,
If we're growing
like
them, they're most
you
likely
know
organic. Right.
what you're putting in. So
Mhm.
like rosemary, I have
Mhm.
rosemary and lavender outside that I've been
Mhm.
growing, and I know I
Mhm.
make sure that if I'm not putting any fertilizer, well, the
Mhm.
fertilizer that it's organic, and that I'm not spraying it with anything
Mhm.
because I
Mhm.
want to make sure that it is that I'm taking care of.
Mhm.
So a lot of the times we can tend. I have oregano that I'm
Mhm.
growing as well, and I use
Mhm.
that. I use that as
Mhm.
well. So
Wow.
different herbs that we could use
Mhm. And
that we
and
can
different,
grow.
yeah. And there are I know I've purchased packets before, or packets specifically for yoni steaming before. But there are certain I mean each herb has a different purpose, right? And then there are herbs that we shouldn't use at certain times or ages or what have you, correct?
Yeah, in the same way, like when we need to steam and when we shouldn't be steaming.
Yeah.
If we're bleeding, we shouldn't be steaming.
Mm-hmm.
If, we have an infection, we shouldn't be steaming.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, so there's different herbs that we can, that we shouldn't, and that's where I
Mm-hmm.
feel like we need to do a little bit more research and
Mm-hmm.
understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
even when we steam or when we, do certain things like
Mm-hmm.
connected to our cycles,
Mm-hmm.
even the
Yeah.
food that we eat.
Right. Okay. And for those who don't understand what yoni steaming is, can you just really quickly just paint a picture of what that is?
So what you do, you have a pot that you boil with water. It's like I feel like it's a tea for our
Yeah.
vagina.
There
It's
you
like
have
a
it.
it's a tea, and ese vapor, we put it and we put it under in a very safe space. Like there's even yoni seat steams. So like there's seats that you could use, chairs,
Mhm,
or you could even do it like on your own. You can
mhm,
kneel. So like there's different ways, and so you just cover yourself up so that steam and the herbs can help and support you, and bring warming into your uterus. So that's kind
mhm.
of like it's. I call it. A lot of the people were calling it facials, you know.
I can
But
see.
but it's not. It's just steam. We're
Yeah.
using steam and herbs.
Yes, it is just steam, and you let it steam into your vagina, and that's why you need the blanket to kind of keep all that steam in there. And it really feels really really special. It does.
Yeah,
It is like a tea for your vagina. It's a nice treat. It's a nice
yeah.
treat. And do you think is there a limit as to how many times a week or a month or that women should be doing this, or does it matter?
It's case by case.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of like your how I base it on a lot of the times is what each individual is dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it may be like, oh, I just want to connect with myself and I want to have a ceremony and I want to do this for myself. Some people are wanting, to work on fibroids. That was what I had to work through.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's different protocols for different what you're wanting to work on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um we are told not to steam before, like, right, well, you could steam right before your cycle, but during your cycle it's a time of rest,
Mm-hmm.
so you're allowing your body to release. And then maybe even after your cycle, like it depends. I mean, here we go into like a little bit more in depth, like how is your blood, your
Mm-hmm.
monthly blood, if you are bleeding, you
Mm-hmm.
know
Mm-hmm.
if you're going through menopause, it's going to look different.
Mm-hmm.
So like I feel like a lot of times being able to listen and see our body and what it's telling us, and
Mm-hmm.
then from there we could base it on what the needs are.
Mm-hmm.
At
Mm-hmm.
least for
Okay.
me, and what I've been working on, because I know a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the times, something could be sold to us and we're like, oh my God, everybody has to try and we have to do it all the time. But not everybody, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and not everybody at the journey that they're at needs
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then there's also like if you have an what is
UTI
a,
or
a UTI
IUD.
IUD? You don't do it, right? When you have an
Hmm.
IUD inserted? Yeah,
Yeah.
I do remember that. And then what about the yoni therapy? Can you tell us what is a yoni egg? What is a yoni egg? Let's start there for those who don't know.
So a yoni egg, and how I started working with it, to me, how I started working with it was because I wanted to feel more pleasure. So
Mm-hmm.
that was why I was like, I want to start.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's shaped as an egg, and it's a stone, and it's different, there's different stones and they have, once again, different healing properties.
Mm-hmm.
But it's placed and it sits inside your vaginal canal, and it promotes, one, we're talking about sexualidad, feeling pleasure and strengthening of our vagina. So
Mm-hmm.
we're able to, like, when we're talking about doing Kegel exercises, and you're
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what you're doing with the yoni egg inside of
Mm-hmm.
you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's pretty much kind of like in a nutshell, because I know we're going through so many different
I
topics, and
know, I
we
know
could go,
it's
and it's completely
it's
okay.
I know it's a little all over the place, but I just
I
wanted to
am
at
all over
least
the place, so I like that.
I like it too. So I like to at least touch it, like let's
Yes.
touch on it a little bit just to like
Oh, you
put it out
touched it.
there and and put the interest out there. Just to like, if it sounds interesting to somebody, then they can explore that further. Thank you so much for sharing all that, and going along with me and all my curiosity here. But
I love it
um,
because I think that is something so important, to be able to see what can we use to help us in our journey and support us in our journey.
mhm,
And I feel like many of us may not know about it,
Mhm.
or many of
Exactly.
us do, and we want to know a little bit more. So I
Mhm.
think it's very
Yeah.
powerful. So thank
Yeah,
you.
I think so. I think it could spark curiosity in somebody, right? If they haven't heard about this before, like, oh, let me, let me think about, let me talk about this. Let me explore this a little
Let me
bit. Or
research a little bit more and see
let
what
me,
this is.
yeah, and see what it is. Or sometimes we forget. Like I know I've gotten busy and I'm like, when I saw your bio, I'm like, oh yeah, the vaginal steaming and the yoni egg. Like I have those in my drawer. I should do this again. So yeah, so thank you for bringing that and going along with it. So what events or activities do you have coming up that listeners can participate in and and enjoy and all your essence and everything you have to offer?
So talking about fertility and health and sensualidad, I'm collaborating with my dear my the womb doula. So she has been someone that has been super important in my healing journey with
Mm-hmm.
fibroids
Mm-hmm.
and the fertility journey that I'm going to be embarking on, or I am currently because
Yeah.
I'm still going through it.
Yeah.
Um, we're going to be doing kind of like, I feel like it's like a retreat,
Mm-hmm.
where we're focusing on how fertility and health and sensualidad is at the forefront with
Mm-hmm.
being able to um, heal ourselves and also connect with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be doing, it's going to be in Dallas. So I'm flying to
Mm-hmm.
Texas
Mm-hmm.
to do this event on the 14th and the 15th of October,
Oh,
in Oak
fun.
Cliff. So that's
Mm-hmm.
happening very soon.
Wow. Yeah, that's coming up. Yes.
Yeah, so we're doing that. We're collaborating. We're doing a boudoir shots for
Mm-hmm.
women that want to also do participate in that. She's gonna be doing a workshop on, once again, fertility, health,
Mm-hmm.
on talking about fibroids, talking
Mm-hmm.
about the different pleasures and
Mm-hmm.
orgasms, the 9 stages of orgasms.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm. Wow,
so
that's
yeah,
interesting.
like she's gonna be giving a whole, like a book. She's actually writing a book to share for this retreat. Um, and then
Fun.
I'm gonna be ending. So that's one day, and then
Mm-hmm.
then we're going into Latin Burlesque, and I'm gonna be
Mm-hmm.
doing a whole choreography
Mm-hmm.
on kind of like 2 hour class
Mm-hmm.
on with Latin Burlesque, and
Mm-hmm.
then we're opening it up for boudoir shootings, and um, we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
have a photographer there and makeup
Fun.
artist as well.
Fun.
So I feel like it's a beautiful retreat that's
Yeah.
combining it all.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds like it. That sounds so fun and very interesting. Did you want to share more about that, or because I want
Yeah,
to
so
ask about your other event too? But go ahead.
yeah, so that's happening in October in Dallas, Texas.
Hmm.
And then in
Yes.
November 17th, Friday, November
Hmm.
17th, we're doing La Llorona event.
Yes.
So I've done this one before,
Hmm.
where women come dressed up in their most Llorona inspired outfit. And why did I choose La Llorona?
Hmm.
I feel like, to me, and how I do a take on it, like I feel like a lot of us have tears
Hmm.
and have pain and have trauma that we carry, and a lot of the times we're like, ay, no andes llorando, no llores. And
Hmm.
so to me, I'm taking a spin on La Llorona, like, no, we're empowering ourselves by being able to cry and release.
Hmm.
We're empowering ourselves and healing ourselves. And
Oh,
so
yes.
I'm using La Llorona, and coming, you could come dressed in red, white, black, different colors. I've had women
Uh-huh.
coming crowns, put tears, like,
Yeah.
all this different creativity
Hmm.
that comes to it.
I love that. Yeah.
And
So
so
cool.
my sisters and I decorate. So we're using a new space. It's Peter Performance Space in
Hmm.
Lincoln Heights. And
Hmm.
so we're doing an event, a 2 hour event, where we're going to have, we're probably going to have vendors. Last time we had someone that was doing poetry on site. And so they did a personalized poetry type of way poetry.
Hmm. Hmm.
Was the one
Nice.
doing that. And then we had rebosos and
Hmm.
crowns. And so you come in your rebozo and your crown.
Oh, fun.
And it's a
Uh-huh.
party and it's a class.
So how is this like an all day event or is this?
So we're doing
Hours?
this on Friday the 17th, so it's a 2-hour event.
Mhm,
I'm trying to see if I could open it up if anybody a little bit earlier, but it is
mhm,
a Friday, so I don't know how
mhm.
that's gonna work.
Yeah.
But it's a 2-hour event um that we're having for Friday.
Mhm,
And then I'm probably doing a norteño series where I'm
mhm,
gonna be using música norteña
mhm.
and burlesque into it. But that
In
still
in this
working on that one.
in this in this event or a separate event?
No, not in a separate event.
On the separate
That's
event.
in the future.
Okay. But the La Llorona is it includes Latin burlesque.
Yeah, we're
Yes,
doing
it
a class. So it's
mhm.
like it's an event plus a class. So it's
Yeah.
like a short class.
Mhm.
Last time I did it with the Llorona song, but I used different artists
Mhm.
that interpret that song, and so
Mhm.
we burlesque to that
Mhm.
song.
Mhm. Oh my gosh, how fun. Okay, and then the norteño one might be coming around as well. So where can people find out more about these events and where can they find you?
Yes, so I'm very active on IG.
Mhm. Okay.
So it's Latin underscore burlesque.
Mhm.
That's how you could find me on
Mhm.
Instagram.
And I'll
Um,
I'll link that in the show notes.
yeah, that's pretty much where you find me.
Yeah.
I mean, people email me, people could email me as
Mhm.
well. Um, I do have a website that I've been working on, and
Mhm.
I'm updating it because I have new pictures.
Mhm. Okay.
But,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah. So IG, let's go to IG, and that's where you'll post about La Llorona event.
yes,
Fun.
La Llorona and boudoir pictures. I think that's
Mhm.
something that I've been
Woo.
doing. I've
Yes.
been collaborating with my
Mhm.
cousin that comes from Mexico, and we've been
Mhm.
doing like a Latin burlesque slash boudoir
Mhm.
session for
Mhm.
women to take amazing pictures.
Mhm. Awesome. I love that. And I'm glad you said for women to take pictures. These events are for women only?
You know what? It's open to femmes and
Mm.
women.
Okay, got it.
Not, yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Okay, got it.
not for,
Thank you.
not for heterosexual males.
Yes. Yes. Okay, good. It's good to clarify that.
Yeah,
What final words of advice do you have for my audience, the midlife women?
to me, I'm like, it's an honor to grow old,
Mm,
you
mhm,
know,
mhm,
and to be able to um gain wisdom as we continue to grow, and that growing older, being in the midlife, I feel like we're becoming elders,
mhm,
and we're there to kind of pass on the knowledge that we've learned. And so to not forget that power,
mhm,
that is like, to me, when I look up to someone, and for someone to one day call me an elder, it's gonna be something that I'm like, okay, I did well.
mhm,
It's something I when we talk about getting more canas or getting more wrinkles, right? Because that's our bodies begin to change.
mhm,
But they're our ancestors,
mhm,
we're connecting to our ancestors. And
mhm,
so being able to love ourselves at every stage of our journey and to embrace it
mhm,
all um is very, very important.
mhm.
And so to
Yeah.
give each other that love
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
ourselves.
That's beautiful. And I love what you said about becoming an elder or being called an elder is an honor. Like how many people don't make it there, so really it is an honor to become an elder and have that experience and live that journey. So thank you, Jenny, so much for sharing all your lovely wisdom with us and your essence and your energy and all the wonderful things that you are doing to support women. So I appreciate your time. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation and that you're starting to see part of the theme of what my purpose is in bringing women onto the podcast to speak about their journeys. What I'm trying to convey is that in each woman's stories, there is a session of there is a series of transformation, of metamorphosis, of growing from one um, job title or role into another, and finally arriving at at what their true essence and purpose is in this life. It's never, I shouldn't say never, but it's not usually a straight shot of being a child and knowing what you're going to do, or being in high school and knowing what you're going to do and sticking with that and loving it forever. That is not the case for most of us. I think that there are people that probably do live that kind of a life. But for most of us, it doesn't go that way. And especially are when we grew up in Hispanic household where, our parents were immigrants, maybe we're first generation or second generation, there was an American dream that we were expected to live and fulfill. And so that tends to sometimes play part in the choices that we make. So my intention is to bring these stories so that I can continue to highlight how every woman's story, it changes over time, but more specifically to show you that in midlife at this age of, late 40s and 50s, that it is not too late to embrace who you truly are and live the life that you really want to live, instead of just being okay with, this is the life that I ended up by default. And so I'm just going to stick with it because it's too late for me to do anything different or change my situation. It is not too late. So I hope that you've enjoyed this conversation. And if you want to learn more about Jenny's La Llorona events or any other events, follow her on Instagram, Latin_burlesque. I will link her in the show notes so you can get straight to her page immediately and learn more about the beautiful work that she's doing. Thank you for being here today. Hasta la próxima.